Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome to Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV. You're watching Women's View live on Ahlulbayt TV. Now, today we have a very interesting show about positive thinking. Many times we are faced with difficult situations, and many times that when we do have negative thoughts, that does impact the situation that we're in, the difficult situation we're in. So inshallah, today we'll be talking about some tips about positive thinking. How do you turn your life around with positive thinking? What effects can negative thinking have in a difficult situation? So we'll be analysing all these topics. So all those, as all humans do go through difficult situation, inshallah this should be an interesting show regarding this issue. Now, once again, to remind you all that this is a live call-in show. So if you would like to call in with your views or opinions, then please do call in with the number on the screen. We'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, you can email us at womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. That's womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. Or you can tweet me, Zahra Al-Alawi, or tweet Ahlulbayt TV. Inshallah, we'll be reading out your comments, your emails, and if you phone in, then we'll be talking about your situations as well. So if you have anything, comments, tips yourself, if you have any tips of positive thinking, or you have any questions for our guest speaker, then please do get in touch. Now, I'm your host, Zahra Al-Alawi, and today with me is Sakina Datoo. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, as human beings, we all go through difficult situations. There isn't one of us that has been through an obstacle or a difficult situation in our life. But how can positive thinking actually turn someone's life around?
I think it's like you said, all of us go through difficult situations, and there is levels of difficult situations. There's like now on and off, you have things that are difficult. Life is not easy, like we say. But then there are certain moments in life when things are so difficult, they can become so bleak that sometimes you actually feel like, you are in this black cloud. And I know that people describe the feeling whereby you just, wherever you look, you just feel like there is no outlet. And I think that is rather the concern, when I'm concerned, that when you think you are so deep into something that you can't get out, how do you get out of that? And that is when it changes your life. It changes because that is the moment that determines which way you go. You can decide to become overcome with grief, become a bitter person, become very cynical about things. It can go to as bad as people going into depression, people giving up their lives, giving up interests. But on a positive note, if you're able to pull yourself out of that situation, I think it changes your life because you become a much stronger person.
Yeah.
But not only that, you are able to view the world in a different light. I think when you see other people, you understand them in a way that you probably wouldn't have understood before. So it makes you a more rounded person. And then, of course, the whole concept of reflecting on why things happen, why there is difficulty in life. And classical examples is usually when there is a big loss in your life, loss of a member of the family, loss of a parent, a child, loss of relationship, a lot of times we tend to automatically, instinctively think, why me? Why has this happened to me? And I think it's a very common question. You think, and like they say, in my experience, when troubles come, they come in threes. It's usually when something goes wrong, things keep happening wrong. So wherever you're looking for, you think, okay, this is the solution, and you'll find that suddenly you get this feeling that the doors are closing from all sides. And that is where you decide on how you're going to look at it. Are you going to look at the doors closing in on you because you are not good, because God is not good, because life is not good? Or are you going to say, why me? But in a light that I would say, I would think that we are told, if you are a mu'min, 40 days should not pass in your life without some kind of affliction coming on you. So, because that tells you that you are in Allah's thoughts all the time. So when something major has happened to you, it is because Allah knows, He knows everything. He knows you have the ability to be able to handle that crisis in your life. And therefore, when you look at it that way, I think you just get this amazing power to say, I'm going to overcome it. And when you are able to, it's not easy by any means. It's not like magic, but I believe it's purely how you decide to look at your situation, and what do you think is the reason behind it. If you can understand the reasons behind it, instead of saying, everybody's bad to me, I would say, because I'm a stronger person, because there is another door opening for me that I'm not seeing right now, because I'm so much concentrating on the doors that are closing on me. So I have to trust in Allah. I have to think this phase will pass, like every night passes and then there is a day, and this phase will pass, and then there will be a new opening. But I have to be ready for that opening rather than staying and looking at the door that has just closed.
Okay, that's interesting, especially when you said that it makes someone stronger. I really believe that. I think positive thinking puts someone at ease and puts them in a correct state to deal with the situation, because when people have negative thoughts, then emotionally they are not prepared to deal with the bad situation. Now we're talking about positive thinking and negative thinking. Can the way you think actually determine what happens when the situation arises? For example, if you think positively with the situation that comes, can that determine your future? Or if you think negatively, can that really determine the outcome of that situation?
I totally believe so, and I think you look at it from, again, two different viewpoints. One is that I think if you look at the philosophy and the psychology, they tell you that what you believe in, if you have positive thoughts, then automatically that is what will happen. Or sometimes when you keep thinking, oh, something's bad going to happen to me, so even if it wasn't going to happen, it would happen to you. Yeah. It's not that it happens by magic, but because you are so concentrating on the negative, when something happens, you will see the negative side of it. So if you are concentrating on the positive, when things happen, you will see the positive side. But then, apart from that, we are told there is an ayat from the Quran, if I'm not wrong, which ayat number 7 in Surah 14, which says, Allah tells us that if you are grateful, I will surely give you more. So when you are in trouble, when things are wrong, and you concentrate on Allah, He will change your life. He will give you more. And for us, I think we probably are the most fortunate people, with the example of Karbala, that is, because whenever you see somebody is going through a difficult phase, everybody will say to you, think of Karbala. And why is that? That is because on the face of it, when you look at what happened from the normal worldly point of view, could anything be worse than that? No. Mothers lost children, husbands lost their wives lost husbands. The most brutal animal kind of difficulty that any human being could go through. But look at the reward, that happened. Why was that? Because they had so surely they knew that Allah was not being ungrateful to them. By giving them that difficulty, it wasn't a punishment to them. He was testing them, and they passed through the phase, and look at the reward.
Exactly.
Look at the reward.
That's true. We have some tweets coming through and some emails as well. This is a tweet at Ahlulbayt TV from Hussein Nashid. He said, Imam Hussein showed the world that defeat on the battlefield can still be victory of ideology, changing values for eternity. So it goes back to what you were saying as well. We have some emails coming through as well. This was the email that came in earlier. It says, Salam alaikum. A note before I write this email is not to read my name out. This is a very good show and something which I think everyone strives to achieve in their lifetime. I had a question in regards to marriage. No surprises there. I have been married for nearly 18 years now and have 4 children. You would think, having been married for so long, that it would only get better, but the opposite has happened in my case. I feel there is no compassion no more between us. We are turning apart and the distance is getting bigger and bigger. There has been a lot of obstacles which have taken place, which we have overcome, and I hoped after 18 years of marriage we would be closer. But we are much closer. We were much closer at the beginning of our marriage and used to spend time together, which we enjoyed. This has led us to argue even in front of our 4 children. We argue every day. How do I see the good in this situation? I'm watching the show. I'll be watching the show at night and hope you get the time to read my email.
What I can say to the sisters is I really feel what she's saying, because I have seen that situation. And, I think a lot of times we have these feelings that that the loss, through death is probably one of the biggest losses and, most painful. But in my view, the loss of a relationship like that one, a long-term relationship, is more painful, because when somebody dies, you are parting on good terms in some extent. You have happy memories to remember that person by, but also it is nobody's fault. Yeah, that person has been taken away. You accept it to be Allah's will, but when there is a loss of a relationship like that, especially I think marriage, because you are supposed to be two people who look out for each other throughout life, and you are in a loving relationship, and then when you reach a point whereby there's so much bitterness, anger, hatred, like the sister is describing, the loss of that relationship, I think, is much, much more painful, really. And it is very hard at such a time to understand what could be good in it, like she's saying. But I think there are ways to look at it. One thing I would say is maybe you need to, first of all, you need to analyze your situation. Are you holding on to something that maybe you shouldn't have been holding on to all these years, you know?
Can we come back to that just in a second, because we have a caller held on the line. We will come back to the points mentioned by Sakina, inshallah. So for the sister that emailed in, please stay tuned. Let's take the call now, inshallah, then we'll come back. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters. Thank you for this nice show.
Wa alaikum assalam, sister. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have been through some difficult time in my life, and and the way that I got over it is, I just want to give a few tips on how to get over a difficult time. Because I don't want to talk about the exact problem that I had in my life.
Okay.
First of all, the tips that I would give to people who are going through difficult times is have faith in Allah, first of all. Because this is the first, most important thing that you should do, is to have faith in Allah, that Allah will make your situation better.
Yeah.
The second thing is, they have to see the light at the end of the dark tunnel. Some people, when they go through difficult times, they just see the whole world is so dark, and they don't see any light in the world, and they get so depressed, and some people even commit suicide. So you have to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you to get on with your life, and take each day as it comes. Don't think about, in a year time, or what's going to happen and how you're going to cope. Just take each day as it comes. Yeah. And another thing that, really helped me is, when I was going through this difficult time, is to take my mind off this difficult thing that I have in my life. Like, for example, by studying or working. By studying or working or doing something that you're interested in, it takes your mind off it, of the problem that you have. You can, also praying to Allah, or, going to mosque, or doing other things instead of just being at home, lock yourself at home, and then you just look at the walls, or, you'll get depressed that way.
Yeah.
And also, you have to look at people who are in worse situations than you. Because, your situation, whatever problem you are going through, is not, there are people who are going through worse than you. So you have to look at people who are worse than you, not better than you, for you not to get depressed and stuff. And time will heal. Because, and that's my advice, basically.
I think that's very good advice. Thank you so much for phoning in and sharing your advice or your experience. Thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to say?
Thank you.
I couldn't agree more with the sister. I think we've all been through those situations, and honestly, what she says is just spot on. You have to get out of there. You have to look at other things in your life, not get locked up. And I think, a lot of us, especially for women, we cry out, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think that it's bad, because a lot of times the pain is released through crying, but it shouldn't be excessive. You don't have to sit home and cry over what has happened to you. Get out there. There are other things you can do. Look into your other talents and see that, okay, I may have failed, if that's how you see it, and it may not necessarily be that way, but if something has failed in my life, there are other things that are still there. And going back to the sister about marriage, I would say to her...
There's another caller on the line. We have two things that we want to come back. I do want to come back to the caller that called in as well, and I want to come back to the sister that emailed in. And sorry, I'm going to keep you waiting, but we do have another call. We will come back to the points mentioned, inshallah. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. Welcome to the show.
I was hearing about the problem. The women just argue after so many years of marriage.
Yeah.
So I would like to comment about that the problem is that they're arguing, just every day. So I would like to comment for that lady's problem that she should just control herself and keep her patience, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I'm with the person who keeps the patience.
Yeah.
As well as in Najul Balaga is mentioned that the people who keep control on their tongue, that the man itself, they have to control their tongue, So argument as that the woman or the man, they both has to control themselves instead of arguing. If they're unhappy with something, whatever their behavior or whatever the problem, just they have to be quiet just for the moment when they get angry about it and they start the dispute. So I think the solution is there itself. Just have got to be quiet and just that they should just pray the Allah, or just send brood. They should use the
Yeah, I think
brood, and I think that.
Yeah, go on. Sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. But what would you say if, like, one party, for example? Okay, I think the caller's gone. Yeah. But I think, sorry I interrupted you there. I thought you paused and I wanted to ask a question, but apologies. But I think is some good advice you gave there. I think people should be patient and especially in those situations. I was going to ask him, he said the sister should remain patient so whoever is angry, but sometimes individuals have aggressive or angry spouses. So I was going to ask, what do you do in that situation when the other partner is angry? But what would you say?
I think I understand what he's trying to say, but I think he probably doesn't understand the situation. Because I think what sister is talking about is if the two people have been living together for 18 years, they know each other pretty well, they've got 4 children. And I think it's belittling her a bit to say, keep control on your tongue, because sometimes it's not that easy. When you have serious disagreements, it springs from a deep-rooted problem.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as saying, okay, let's have patience and let's pray to Allah. Yes, definitely, you have patience, because there's there's saying of Imam Hassan here, I have, that says, patience is a treasure from the treasures of goodness that Allah does not give away except to slaves whom He regards as being worthy. So definitely patience is highly, recommended. But on the same ground, we are always told that do not accept oppression either. Yeah. So we don't know what the sister's situation is, and if in any way she feels oppressed, and if she is putting up with that oppression, then that is not correct either. Yeah. So I think it's, you have to be careful not to judge somebody's situation. I would say to her, the way you look at what is good in it is, I would look at I would make a list of positives and negatives. One of the first positive thing I would say is you've got 4 children from this marriage. So if the marriage is not going well, look at those 4 children. Were they not worth, the marriage? Even if other things are not worth it, wasn't that worth it, And then there are other things. When you start listing down things, usually, I would say, instead of looking at what I don't have, look at what I have. Yeah. And then you make a comparison. And in terms of your relationship going wrong, there are also a lot of things that it brings forward. Like I was saying, sometimes it is possible that she is held up in a situation in which it may be, I don't know her situation, but it may be better for her not to be in that situation. So through this process, maybe she'll find a way out and get into a better situation. A better life is waiting for her, possibly, we don't know. Yeah. Another option is, maybe it is, in a marriage, when you have arguments, it brings out it is like a mirror. You hold it to yourself and you see the worst things about yourself reflected in the other person, because no other person knows you as much as your spouse. So all your good qualities, but also bad qualities, can only be reflected through each other. So maybe, through your husband, you are seeing the worst in you, because you may have done something that is not correct, because of which this is a mirror, and therefore it is giving you an opportunity to look deep inside you and say, I'm right here, but I'm wrong here. And if I am wrong, how am I going to correct that about myself? It's giving you an opportunity to improve yourself, to make things better for yourself as a person. But at the end of it all, if everything fails, I would say, what is this world at the end of the day? What are you aiming for? What happiness are we looking for in this world? This is only a transit. We are only here for a few days.
That's true.
So what we have to look at is, are you doing right by you? Do you think what you are doing is correct? If you are satisfied in your heart that I am doing my duty, I have given it my everything, my best, I am doing my part, then if things are not going wrong, then Allah has a better reward for you for later.
That's true. I think very good advice there. I agree with the brother, and I agree with you. If I can give my 2 cents about the situation, for the sister emailed in, I really hope that the sister's advice has helped, and the brother that called in. What I want to say is that I haven't been married as long as the sister, but what I can say is at the beginning of the marriage, she said at the beginning of the marriage, there was it was much better than now, and now it's 18 years later. At the beginning of marriage, when someone first gets married, they don't have responsibilities, they don't have the pressure as they do later on. So they're just a newly wedded couple, probably living in their parents' house. So they have more time to go out, more time to spend with each other, and it's new, everything's new. But I think after years of marriage, you have responsibilities when the kids come, when for example, responsibilities of rent, responsibilities of taxes, and there's a lot of pressure of work. And I think at the same time, you become so accustomed and used to each other that it just, all these stuff become petty. I think that people forget that, and then every marriage kind of gets into this, and then when especially someone compares it to the beginning of marriage, it's completely different. You have, so I would say to sister, you have so much more now with your husband. You have the 4 kids, you have so much more, you have a life with your husband. I think that, to say that there isn't much compassion and much, interest, or it's not the same as what it was before, we shouldn't be compared to before, because it's different now. And like you said, you have the kids. I mean, that's something positive.
But also, I think, over time in life, we change, people change. So when you got married, maybe you were compatible, or if not, you sort of, had similar views. But as we grow older, we change. Life changes us, and our perspectives on things change. What we come across, and it comes to a point whereby suddenly you want different things, but you are tied together. You are in one situation. You can't have 2 different lives. So that is when it becomes very difficult, because sometimes it can be. I've seen situations whereby religion becomes an issue. Suddenly one person gets an awakening, wants to be more, focused towards Allah. The other partner is not ready, and these are very different paths.
What does someone do in that situation when down the line someone just changes and you're just completely different?
I think first of all, you should try everything you can to keep together, because like we hear, there's nothing detestable more to Allah than a divorce. And also, when the nikah is decided, it's not a simple recitation. Allah puts love and compassion into you. And 18 years of marriage, or even less if people have been in it, this person becomes a part of you. And there is a lot in it. You can be with someone else tomorrow, but he will not be the father of your children. There's a lot of issues in there. So you should try in every manner, and I would say go everywhere, go counseling, don't be scared. I mean, sometimes we live in these communities where we think, people will say this and people will speak, and, it's not people's life, it's your life. Go get help, seek, assistance. But the major thing is pray to Allah. Honestly, there is no situation, if you truly want to be together, and you are thinking, I don't want to leave him, but it's becoming impossible to stay with him, hold on to Allah and say, I am giving up. I do not have the ability or the expertise to know what to do, but you do. So I'm going to leave it purely to you to guide me.
Definitely true. We'll come back after the break, inshallah. Sure. I think you've mentioned some really good points. I will come back after the break, inshallah. We are going off for a quick break, inshallah. We'll be back after the break, where we'll be talking about positive thinking and how to deal with difficult situations. We have more of your comments posted now, more of your emails, and inshallah we'll be reading them after the break. Stay tuned, and we hope to hear you after the break, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.